Secretly recorded from deep inside the bowels of a decommissioned missile silo, we bring you the man, one single man who wants to bring light to the darkness and dark to the lightness. Although he's not always right, he is always certain. So now, with security protocols in place, the protesters have been forced back behind the barricades and the blast doors are now sealed. Without further delay, let me introduce you to the host of HuttCast, Mr. Tim Huttner.
Thank you, Sergeant at Arms. You can now take your post.
Happy Sunday afternoon on HuttCast 5/1/2022. Today, Nate Truesdell from Champlin City Hall. He is a councilman for our lovely city. And Nutramigen. Do we have a crisis? Do we want to make a crisis? Is there already a crisis? I don't even know. Wait till you hear this latest kubacle of Sinopolis. Stay tuned for HuttCast, and happy Sunday.
In today's busy world, staying healthy and alert have become essential for those of us who want to get the most out of ourselves. So before you reach for that energy drink, ask yourself, are you really giving your body the best? If you want the energy without the jitters that commonly come from today's most popular energy drinks, then reach for something better. Reach for Super Fuel. Super Fuel is made by Casmo Incorporated. Super Fuel is a healthy boost. Super Fuel is made with vitamins B6, B12, and taurine, that is a amino acid that aids in weight loss and protects heart tissue. Beetroot powder and other healthy ingredients that will give you a quick, healthy boost. Make Super Fuel a great tasting, low-calorie addition to your daily regimen. Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated. It can be ordered by visiting our website at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. That's right, Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. Super Fuel.
Welcome to HuttCast. Today, on this glorious Sunday, we have our city council member in session today, and we're going to have some conversation. Nate Truesdell, how are you today?
Doing well. How about yourself, Tim?
We are living the dream if we could only have spring or summer one more time.
Right.
So, Nate, we're going to have a conversation about conversations, I guess, and let's just kind of know what we know. You sit on the city council of Champlin for how long?
Well, I was elected in 2016 the first time and officially took over in January of 2017.
Were you incumbent or what were you?
No, I sat on the planning commission. I was appointed to the planning commission in roughly 2012 or 2013. And I thoroughly did enjoy that. But in 2016, previous city council member for my ward, which is Ward 3, Bruce Miller, had decided to run for mayor, so I decided it was my time to step up and take over.
Bruce Miller was in Champlin for how long was he here?
He lived in Champlin, I think, for more than 30 years. He had been on the city council he had just served one term on the city council before he decided to run for mayor.
So it wasn't a safe election for him. And for you people that don't know safe elections, if you run in the midterm of your planning commission or whatever it is, you maintain that spot even if you do lose for mayor. So it wasn't a safe one for him?
It was not. No, he decided that he wanted to do that mayor role, or he felt that his time was done.
And he lost. I think that's when I ran also. Was that 16? Was that?
Yep.
And then that's when you took his spot.
I did. Yep. I ran unopposed that time. Yep.
Well, we've seen a lot of things in Champlin in the last couple of years, the last 8 years, really. We've seen the Mississippi Point Park. Is that what they call it now?
Well, the whole development, you would refer to it as Mississippi Crossings redevelopment plan, which includes portions of Mississippi Point Park there, yes.
Mm-hmm. We have what type of facilities there?
Currently, there's a 214 unit market rate apartment complex that's open and renting. That was very well done, in my opinion. I'm certainly not an expert, but it's a very attractive building, and it's attracting a lot of people to live there. And as you know, the more people that live in an area, it's better for the business community. And so that turned out, I thought, very well. Currently under construction is a city-owned event space. So that all the particulars that have gone into that over the several years that we've been talking about it, it's finally coming to fruition, and I think that you'll be pretty happy with that product when it's done. Mm-hmm. And then next, at least I think next, it is next, the groundbreaking for a restaurant overlooking the Mississippi River there.
Is that restaurant going to be city-owned or will it be private?
It is a privately owned restaurant. It's owned by the same developer that did the apartment complex. The gentleman's name is Josh Brandstead, and he's with Greco. And he's really done a nice job tying the history of the area to his buildings. So there's a lot of touches inside the apartment complex that you'll notice, the pictures of the old Champlin mill and very wooded type accents, and a lot of that wood came from trees that were removed during the project, and so they repurposed a lot of that, and he's very much into becoming a blended in part of our community. I would expect the same of the new restaurant, and it's going to be quite large, and offer outdoor seating and some event space there as well. And I don't know about the menu or any of that stuff yet, but the building concept itself has been approved, and he's hoping to break ground here shortly.
Now, the apartments themselves, are they market rate or are they low income? Are they Section 8?
They are market rate. Those apartments are all market rate. There's no Section 8 or low income in there.
Very nice. What I understand is the mayor's temping for a spot in there?
He was. He's actually now moved into his new home, but he did live there for a period, and he'll quip about that a little bit because he had at the beginning of this project or the vision stages of this project, he did not support market rate apartments or any apartments for that matter. So then he ultimately ended up living in there for a brief period before his house was completed.
Seems kind of odd, doesn't it?
I mean, what do? You need a place to go, and they do short-term rental. So I think that even a couple of their spots in there are reserved for vacation rentals, like a VRBO or Airbnb. I'm not sure which one, but I believe that they have a couple in there that are designated for that.
Is that right? So if you wanted to B&B in Champlin, that would be the place to be.
Yeah, you could. I'm not going to speak to which units they are, but I would presume that they're the nicer ones on the river. I would guess that his mindset with doing that is with all the corporate stuff just to our south. If people need to fly in for a week or two for meetings, it might be nicer to stay at a nice market rate apartment complex rather than a hotel. I would imagine is the thought behind that. So
I didn't know that was a thing over there.
Yep. I don't remember exactly how many units, but it's at least 2. So just keep that out there.
All 2?
At least 2. I mean, there's 214 units, so I would say that it's probably more than 2, but I know for sure it's 2.
Right. Well, again, I didn't know that until now. It's like, well, imagine what you learn when you interview somebody.
Yeah. That's why we're here, right?
That's why we're here. And I hope that all of Champlin gets a little piece of this and they can listen in and say, okay, what do we not know about this crossings thing? Now, when do they expect to be finished with this area?
That's a really good question, Tim, and I wish I could give you a solid answer. I can tell you what's projected, but we've been wrong more than 5 times on all that, so I don't want to commit to anything. But the restaurant, the hope is actually to have that open by spring of next year. I think even fall of this year.
Wow.
Whether or not that can happen with all the weirdness with different supply issues and all those things, as you know.
Yep.
But it's a goal. So there's that, and then there's another piece potentially down the road of opening up a little I don't know, like a little sandwich shop type thing as part of the park. It would be privately owned, but near the parks for if you just want to run up and grab a sandwich or something like that to eat as a picnic or whatever. But we haven't. I don't think there's been any commitments on any sides for that yet.
I see. And that will be also not city-owned or city-owned?
That will be not city-owned.
Okay. So the same developers doing that.
Yeah, that's all pretty fluid right now, Tim. I'm not going to say that he's doing it.
I see.
Yeah, I don't know who's.
So you could rent that out.
Yeah, it was part of our concept originally. So I think that they're working towards that. The city staff is working towards that, but we, as you know, are incredibly concerned about parking.
Right.
So we've got some plans and some contingency plans on top of those plans in case we need them.
Maybe a parking ramp, perhaps.
I don't. The numbers that come back for a parking ramp would make me say no. But potentially there's some city-owned property in the vicinity that could be used
Rampable,
or even just pavable, or we've committed. There's some properties in close proximity that we've committed to not selling for at least 1 year after the open date of the restaurant.
So that's an EDA function or a council function?
That is an EDA function.
So you're doing an HRA on this?
We are. Yes. Yep.
Okay, because of all the houses that got removed during this.
Yeah, you're talking for the TIF.
Well, we didn't talk TIF yet. We're talking about the HRA to redevelop this area. Your HRA department is taking this section, which is also as the council.
Yes, that is true.
I see. Okay, we don't want to talk about button 4, so a lot of people don't want to get into the TIF thing. We have in the past, but that was usually with me and a previous mayor.
Okay.
But let's move forward on what we know here. So if they put this parking ramp or some type of a facility to store cars, what is the height restrictions in Champlin? So I know Dayton has a 50 sidewall height, and that's maybe 4 floors if you're lucky. Well, we know that Champlin has hook and ladder. Dayton does not. So how tall would you make these?
Tim, candidly, I don't think that there's any discussion of a ramp at this point. If anything, it would be another parking lot. And,
I see.
The ramps are the last time that I remember talking about a ramp, which was several years ago. I want to say it was north of $7 million, and that just simply is not.
Well, we just talked to our buddy who budgets, right?
Yeah, there you go.
we know the guy who budgets.
There you go. That's a good point.
We have to know Senator John Hoffman.
Yes.
He loves it when I say his name on radio.
Well, and I know John quite well, and he's been very helpful to the city. Him and former state representative Mark Uglum and current state representative Zach Stevenson have been very helpful in securing state funds for some of Champlin's projects. So if that were ever to be a part of anybody's discussion, they certainly would have to be into that with us, because that's for the little old city of Champlin to take on a $7 million project is a pretty big deal.
Right. I always ask the question, during that ground cutting procedure, how come he wasn't there?
Who?
Hoffman.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
It wasn't invited, is what I heard.
Oh, that surprises me. I guess I didn't pay any attention to that, Tim. I was asked to show up and didn't show up.
Right. That's on somebody.
Somebody screwed up, yeah.
Uh-huh. The guy who secured your funding or helped secure it isn't even invited to the ribbon cutting?
Yeah, I didn't even, you made me aware of that. I didn't even know that.
Imagine what we learned on the radio show.
That's right.
Okay, shifting gears here. Now, we know that our current mayor is not going to run for another term.
That I have heard that as well. Yep.
And if he has other aspirations in life, or is he just going to say, I'm going to hang my political hat up, or is he going for state rep, or what's he going to play with? Do you have any intel?
I do. I don't want to speak fully for Mayor Karasik, and I've got to know him quite well over the years, and I think that he is just at a point in his life where he wants to be dad, and he's got 2 kids, and I don't know if you're aware, but his father passed away early in life, and Mayor Karasik really just wants to spend as much time with his kids as he can while they're young. So I can't imagine him in a scenario. This is just me speaking and not speaking for him, but I can't imagine him wanting to change that right now.
At least for a while, yeah.
At least until, and that's where I was with when my kids were little. I didn't really have any intention of doing this. But as they get older, I don't want to say they don't need you. They do, but they need you less. You don't have to tie their shoes anymore or whatever.
Right.
So that's kind of the time to do it. And his he's very involved with his son's hockey.
Well, I would imagine he's a player, wasn't he?
He was the goalie for Duluth.
Wow.
So he
UMD?
yeah.
Go Bulldogs, right?
That's you can say that. I'm more of a Gopher guy, but he we wish him well. He's done a lot and spent a lot of time in city government, so he deserves a little break.
Moving on, not to make this the Mayor Krosick show, but I get it. I mean, he's served the city, and hats off to him. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a new regime coming in. I've heard whispers around town, and we ain't saying no names yet because there's no official filings. But it ought to be an interesting race next time.
Well, it will be interesting, Tim. So it's going to be an open seat, which usually makes it more hard to predict, if that makes sense. Typically, unless the incumbent's really doing a bad job and really screwing something up, they typically will hold on to their seat. Not always, of course, but typically, if things are going well, the residents typically will support the incumbent. But without there being an incumbent, it's kind of anyone's guess. And I don't know who's going to get in. I know who's not going to get in, but it'll be an interesting time. And as you know, we don't have primaries here in Champlin, so it could be a pretty wide field of people that are on the ballot in November for that. So,
well, yes, it will.
So we'll see how things go. I think we'll know a lot more come August. But until then, it's kind of anybody's speculation.
All right, let's grab another gear here. So the Berry Farm got redeveloped.
Yep.
And Bill Bauer, good friend of mine.
Okay.
Good friend. I could say good friend. We had several discussions about it, and he wanted it to be a park, but yet here it is, another housing development. How did that land that way?
Well, I can mostly speak to why it's not a park, right? And then we can get into the development part of it. But that would be, I think he sold it for, you can maybe even correct me if you're friends with him, but I want to say he got $3.5 million for that property.
I don't know the numbers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was right around there. And with all the other parks and other parks needing upgrading or reinvestment that Champlin already has, which, as you know, we have a ton of parks in Champlin, which is what our residents want. I get that, but we just didn't have the funds to buy marketable land just to turn it into a park.
Well, EDA is sitting on what, $4.5 million now?
Not anymore. They're not. So with, like I say, with all the reinvestment going on with the Mississippi corridor, there's been some real estate acquisition there. There's a lot of park improvements to come to Chandler Park. There's potential to do some more park investment around the Mill Pond coming up. So we just thought, where can we get the most bang for our buck? And as much as everybody wanted to see that Bauer farm stay a farm forever, especially Bill, Bill made that decision, and sad to see them. We've been customers of theirs since we lived here 20 years ago.
Who hasn't? Yeah,
I mean, in fact, we live across the street from somebody that grew up in Olivia, Minnesota.
Okay.
And Olivia, Minnesota they are the self-proclaimed corn capital of the world. And she said Bill Bauer's sweet corn was the best corn she ever had. So it evolved and that project was taken on eventually by a developer. I don't know what percentage is completed in there, but I've been through there and I must say the homes are impressive. A lot of new neighbors to Champlin. I get that frustrates people, but it also makes a lot of people pretty happy that they have that opportunity to have a new home in a nice area and really in the best city in the metro. So that's good. We were able to preserve a lot of the heritage oak trees in there, which is important not only to me but everybody on the city council, and that's not just the city council. That city council's going in reverse for a long time. If you look around Clives and Maple Bank in that area, I know the previous city council had taken a lot of time and energy to make sure that we can preserve as many trees as possible. So it is It is progressing along. I wish I had more information on percentage for you, Tim, but it's certainly...
That's okay. We're talking general today.
Sure.
This is just to get to know the city type of noise, simple stuff.
Sure.
So here's what we're going to do. We are 17 minutes, 20 seconds into this first segment, and we'll come back and let's talk about the Bauer Farm location. Do we have enough pipe in the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So can you stand by for a moment?
Absolutely.
HuttCast will be taking a short break at 17:34. Stand by for the next segment.
Now a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor in part by Excel Roofing. Excel Roofing, they do it all. Roofs, siding, framing. You need a house? Give Excel a call. I've used these guys personally in the past, have a professional crew. They're conscious of your job, and they want to produce the finest quality of craftsmanship available. Excel Roofing, 763-712-0757. Again, 763-712-0757. Excel Roofing, Dayton, Minnesota.
Welcome back to HuttCast. Nate Truesdell today. He is in studio, and we left off in our last segment, Nate, about the Bauer Farm. So we know what's going in. It's kind of one of the last hurrahs that Champlin's going to have for a while, because we're pretty much built out as a city. What I seen the road set up over there, and I can't figure out what monkey would design that, because you just can't get in and out of there and take a left when you're leaving the Bauer Farm. How are you going to handle that in life?
Well, a lot of thought goes into those by engineers and MnDOT and Hennepin County, and everybody gets involved, right? So what they didn't want is to add more traffic going across the road and turning, making a left, in other words. So it became a right in and right out intersection with the left out, for lack of a better term, intersection to the south.
Ta-ta, I got it.
So so eventually the vision's been that there will be a roundabout basically where you enter the development across the street at the reserve and have a roundabout there that will kind of handle all of that mix. I can't picture a scenario where we would allow left out at that entrance to the actual project.
Could you do a round out there?
The problem is we spent a lot of time on that, and part of the property across the street would have to be acquired for that.
Now, isn't that the guy who owns part on Dayton, part on Champlin?
I'm going to get them mixed up, but I believe, yes, he owns 5 acres, or 2 are in Dayton and 3 in Champlin, or vice versa, or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can't acquire from him because he's probably retirement age and looking for that check out.
I don't think that we even explored that option, Tim, just because of how cost prohibitive it became. And that's actually a county road. So there's not a heck of a lot that we could really do, even if we wanted to. Does that make sense? So they got to call the shots. We are currently pushing, and my colleague from Ward 1, which is where this project lies, has been pushing very hard for the county to upgrade Hayden Lake Road there and actually get a roundabout.
We can say her name. I did run against her.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don't worry about that.
That's right. Yeah, Ms. Tesdall has been pushing hard for that, and I support that roundabout. It's funny, when roundabouts first started becoming a thing, how badly I thought I hated them.
Oh, they suck. They did still suck.
you get used to them, and oftentimes they're the best ways to manage traffic. So
I agree with that, but you have to remember that not everybody is a 20, 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-old driver. They are 70s and 80s and sometimes 90s.
Sure.
And they are not equipped to handle this constant flow of smooth rotation.
Yeah.
And they end up sitting there, and it becomes more of a hindrance than it ever could be, especially at times of high traffic. Yeah, have you noticed that? Because I do.
I guess I would say I notice it less than I used to. People have kind of adapted now. There is one roundabout in Champlin that, as you know, on Douglas Drive there at 117th is, I would argue, is poorly designed. The city has been pushing really hard to get the county to basically redo that roundabout because it is become very dangerous. It gets hit a lot.
Accidents in a roundabout?
Oh, well, I wouldn't say an accident in a roundabout as much as a car hitting the center of the roundabout. So
that's just people being lazy. They want to drive through it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. I've never seen it as an issue, but it gets hit multiple times a year, and we kind of quip about it and make jokes about it. But the bottom line is that somebody's going to eventually get hurt. Somebody innocent. Cars have been in backyards.
Isn't there a bar down the road from there?
There is.
Well,
5-8. Yeah,
I don't think I need to be Columbo here, but I'm just saying.
Well, we named it Officer Roundabout. So
Officer Roundabout. You better Officer drinks a lot.
yeah. So so we just recently talked to the Hennepin County Commissioner,
Which is who?
That is Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson. And what does he have to say?
He agrees, just like a city council, the county is made up of, I think they're made up of 7 members, and you have to get people to, number 1, discuss it, number 2, support it. So
Majority.
yeah.
So how many service calls police have you had over there? Do you mark that or margin that?
They started to, I can't give you an exact number, Tim. I could.
It'd be a tie call, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but it's it's several. It's
So
enough.
as the roundabouts go, that's our most dangerous one in Champlin.
Yeah, it was the first one ever designed by Hennepin County. And I don't know if it's the lighting or the approach or what it is, that goose people, there's been arguments that both, the lighting and the approaches to it are not set up well, where people just are focused on the lights up there at River Road, and they think that they just need to go straight through it.
So this becomes a public safety issue.
It does. And, like I say, we joke about it and say that we've gotten a lot of DUI arrests out of there, and that's fun to say and all that. Great. But if you're one of the people that live with your backyard on that thing, and there's a car ended up in your backyard and your shed's destroyed and all that stuff, it's not funny to them. So
I bet that gets old.
Well, and especially, granted, these mostly happen at night, but if you're sitting back there late having some cocktails and a bonfire and a car all of a sudden comes flying into your backyard, they're gonna be parking on top of a campfire. You're gonna have an issue. Yeah. So our hope is that we can work with the county and try some solutions and make it so that stops happening. That's our goal.
Well, that would be a pretty decent goal, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. We covered that. Covered the bar. We were still discussing briefly about this roundabout over at the Bauer Farm.
Yep.
Have you tried the right in, right out thing? I mean, what is that? Because what I'm getting is people go to the first, of course, you're crossed over to Dayton at that point in time, and turn in somebody's driveway and turn around there, and they do that. Or some guys just go up the wrong way because there's no one coming, and they get out. They take left out.
Oh.
So if you haven't seen that one, I have, and that would be another safety issue, certainly public.
Yeah, I personally, well, candidly, I don't spend a ton of time over there. I don't have a reason to be there, but when I went through the neighborhood, I've done that. I want to say 3 times now. I've gone through there and
checking out Karasic's new house.
It's a beautiful, beautiful area. But I turned in, took a right, went through the neighborhood, and then when I was leaving, I took a right out of the neighborhood and went up to the roundabout in Dayton there and turned around there.
So you went up another 2 miles to turn around.
I don't know if it's that far, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, it was the easiest.
Okay, maybe a mile and a half. That's a long way to turn around just to go out left to work. That's going to have to be addressed. You know that.
Well, you can exit to the south of that neighborhood and go out on, I wish, get to French Lake Road there and head out that way, which is what I did the other time that I went through there. I left and went through, I want to say it's 131st where it's connected. And
I don't believe, is that system connected to the Dayton side back there?
No, not to the Dayton side. I'm talking on the Champlin side.
Ah, I get it.
So that's how I exited one of the other times I did it. There's a lot of concern, I know, from that neighborhood about basically attaching another neighborhood to their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. One road in, one road out, and those are the 2.
There is 2, yeah. So
I guess I'd be upset too if I was a neighbor that lived on the corner of that new opening because it has been blocked off for years.
It was, yeah, yep. It dead ended right there for as long, well, forever.
Right.
So I know there was a little angst about that, but I haven't heard anything negative since then, Tim. I think it's been pretty low key. So,
how is the unit count now? 290, you said?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How many homes
in the Bauer Farm?
Yeah,
99.
Oh, 99.
Yep.
I guess I'm used to date, and we're putting in hundreds of, not just 100.
Oh.
So when I hear 100, it's like, oh, is that it?
Yeah. And there was a decision to not connect to Dayton. And I don't know if that was us or if that was Dayton, but it didn't ever really get too tumultuous or that big of a deal, I guess, where we...
No, I'm pretty sure it was Dayton not wanting that.
Okay, and I can understand that, but...
Me and the mayor have conversations about that over there, and they're like, why should we do this? I get it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I wouldn't want them to, for lack of a better term, I wouldn't want them to connect to us either. So it's, as far as neighborhoods anyway, the main roads, of course, you want that, but...
We have enough problem with infrastructure in Dayton that we don't need to add more traffic to it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't get into all their particulars, but they're great neighbors and they frequent our businesses, and we just kind of manage our cities a little differently is all.
Yep, that's about what it is. So you talked about redistricting.
Yep.
Now me and you are now in the same ward.
We will be in August. Yep.
Okay, so that's when it takes effect.
Yep.
And that, now, what do we call that ward in August? Is it 2 or 3?
It's going to be 3.
Okay.
So, I wish I had the exact lines. I know that map actually exists today. I just don't have a copy of it in my hands. But roughly, Ward 3, at least up here where we are, Tim, ended at Winnetka, and then it went down to 117th and cut over kind of behind Cub there. The north part of that stayed Ward 1, and as you know, Ward 1 crosses the highway, right? So with the expansion in regards to the Bauer Farm and all those other developments over there, Ward 1 quickly became the most populated ward in Champlin, and we try to keep that balanced. We try to keep it more balanced than that. Now, as much as I would love to keep all the lines where they are, that's not up to me. So they, and by they I mean Hennepin County and the city work together and develop new lines, and I think that we could feel that coming, right? That your area over here would probably be sucked into mine. They're very similar and they're across the street from each other. So
right.
I think that everybody kind of felt that coming. It was a natural line for me to represent that because
sure, the density changed.
Yeah, and you know, I live in a neighborhood exactly like yours, so I can represent it. And I think that Ward 3 actually went further down south too into parts of Ward 4. So over where kind of where Adair, it used to end at Adair Avenue, and I think that it's expanded beyond that now. So
boundary lines.
Yep.
Did everybody stay in their lane?
The city council.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So Councilman Sabis didn't move. The gal didn't move. Everybody's all in the same spot.
Yep. Jessica's still right in the heart of Ward 1. Ryan is in Ward 4, although he's always been right on the edge. I think he's still, that line didn't move much, and he's in by like one house. It's kind of funny.
Well, he was in one house last time.
Yeah, that's the line that I don't think moved. He ended up, Ward 4 ended up expanding to the west along 109th there, and taking some from Ward 2, because Ward 2 was the second largest ward. So Ward 4 has expanded. I don't think it goes all the way to 169, but it's pretty darn close. And then Ward 3, I think will go all the way to the highway. I could be wrong, and I think some of those townhouses up north of the church might stay in Ward 1, but I don't have that exact map. As soon as I do, you'll be the second to know. I'll be first, you'll be second.
Well, we'll have to see where that lands, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I look forward to meeting new people through that process and helping where I can. I think that Ward 3 will actually go from the smallest ward to the largest when it's all said and done.
For density as far as voters,
Yep.
Ward 1 had a lot of commercial in it.
It also had the most people. Surprisingly, it was. I mean, you start talking Emory Village, your neighborhood, all those townhouses, and then it goes all the way across there with the the new preserve, Oaks of Savannah, all that stuff back there. There's a lot of people in Ward 1, and then how far out it goes too. It was huge. So that changed. and we knew it was coming because they do that redistricting every 10 years. So we knew it was coming, and they have to wait for the census numbers. And now you and I have talked about that over the years. When's that going to happen? And
Right.
And it did.
So we also know that one of our friends, Senator John Hoffman, has redistricted some of his lines, and he is now part of Dayton, and I think he's out of Coon Rapids. Is that correct?
So Senate District 36, yeah. Well, they retained a little tiny sliver of Coon Rapids, just a little. I mean, basically a neighborhood. But Senate District 36 now goes further. It's always included part of Brooklyn Park, all of Champlin, and then part of Coon Rapids. But what's happened is now it's gone further down into Brooklyn Park, I believe all the way down to 85th instead of 93rd. And then all of Champlin still, and then it picked up Rogers, all of Rogers, and all of Dayton. So I would say geographically it's much larger than it was before, but population-wise it's probably about the same. They try to keep those about the same. So that'll be interesting for him, and then the House side, 36 gets split into two House districts. So you have 36A and 36B. And 36B kept that little tiny neighborhood in Coon Rapids and then went south into Brooklyn Park, and also shaved off a little tiny chunk of Champlin. And Champlin's actually always been, I shouldn't say always, for the last 10 years has been 36A, but part of it down kind of by Bill's there turned into 36B. And then 36A will take the rest of Champlin and then go in through all of Dayton and all of Rogers as well. So that'll be interesting.
You bet. There'll be all kinds of changes.
There are all kinds of changes, and there's elections. So John Hoffman, who just won in 2020 to normally a 4-year term, the state senate runs every 4 years, actually has to run again now, only 2 years later, because of the redistricting. So
he'll be a mess again.
John's he's pretty good at that campaigning.
Oh, big time.
And I've talked to him quite a bit over the years, and we used to actually go have breakfast quite regularly pre-COVID, and even some post-COVID. So,
the Breakfast Club, yes.
The Breakfast Club, yes. Yep. So John, I have talked to John about the redistricting, and he's like me, excited to meet new people and keep representing his constituents is his hope. So that's
he's a pretty good egg.
Yeah, John's I don't know that I would call him a close friend, but he's become a friend over the years, and always able to take my phone call, always text me back, and just fun to be around. So
we kind of do it as this. A friend comes to a car show, but a close friend gets in one of the cars with you.
Okay.
And he's been in some cars.
Sure.
So I got to give it to him. He got in the car and strapped in. And I thought, okay, we're going.
Nice.
His wife didn't find out till later, but hey, it happens that
way. Sure.
All right, so let's talk some admin here.
Yep.
Brett Heitkamp is our administrator.
He is.
And I heard whisperings, I don't know if it's true, that he's going to pull the pin pretty soon.
I would presume, given his age and time at City Hall, that he's not going to be there for, a super long time. I don't know his dates or anything like that, but I'm sure he's eyeing it up just like a lot of us are, right? So, that would be safe to assume that, Tim. Yep. Okay.
Well, just word on the street, and you hear things, and you're like, okay, well, I don't know. And I don't know if there's anything been public or made, because I'm sure they're all going to listen to this podcast, because when they hear their names in there, they always do.
Sure.
But if he does, I wish him well in his next endeavor.
I can't think of anybody that has worked harder for this city than Brett Heitkamp myself. That's the honest truth. He's very compassionate about the city and wants to make sure that Champlin is getting the best deal that they can for anything when it comes to negotiating or anything, any shared department or shared services. He wears Champlin on his sleeve. He lives here. Not a lot of city administrators live in the city that they work for.
Right.
So it's very near and dear to him. He's got grown children. He's actually a grandfather now. So to your point, I don't know
He'll like the Nutramigen stories coming up next.
Okay. And he also enjoys his weekends at a cabin. I join you with that. Whenever he decides to do that, it's obviously his term. But whenever he decides that he wants to do that, I wish him nothing but well. And I believe that at least I can speak for myself. I've developed a relationship enough with Brett where we'll stay in contact, for forever. So that's that'll be an interesting time in Champlin.
Well, good for him. You heard on the Dayton side we lost our administrator. She's moving on.
I just did hear that. Yeah, I can't remember where I heard she's going, but I literally I want to say Thursday I heard that.
I believe it's Lakeville.
Okay.
And she gave her notice to the council, and we all got our emails, and it's like, okay, there you have it.
Yeah, I can't say that I've ever met Tina, but again, I wish her well. So
as far as planner goes, ace is ace, man. She had her stuff. We call it a poop in the group, but she had her stuff wired.
Sure.
And she could look through a project and like no other I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we've got on the Champlin side here, we've got the community development department is headed by Scott Schulte, and we recently brought on an associate planner named Lexi, and she's just done a great job. We're very happy with her knowledge, even just come out of there, and to have Scott around still to help when needed, I'm sure is going to only help her get better. So
maybe we should invite Scott on the show.
Scott Schulte, yeah, he may. I'm not going to speak for him either, but he may take you up on that.
Well, Scott, we got a spot for you. You come on in, and we'll have talks about what's the future of this area.
Yeah, he's obviously very knowledgeable. I want to say Scott got here in 1998, so he's been here a while, and I got to know him quite well. With my time on the planning commission, obviously he was the city planner at that time, so I know him
quite well
as anybody.
Now, another shout out, Mr. Hart. He is the building inspector.
He is Jerry. Yeah,
Jerry is. We've done a couple of projects here, and I tell you what, he's a good egg.
He's a great guy.
He's common sense to the point. I mean, how much better can you get than that? I mean, so as a shout out to him, if you're listening to the show, you've done a great service for me.
Yeah, Jerry's getting close to that retirement too. So again, we wish him well. He's been. I can't remember what year they said Jerry started. A long time he's been here, and he probably started when he was 5 years old. For a while, but he's been incredibly helpful to many residents in Champlin over the years. And
most building departments want to come in, kick your ass around, tell you what to do, flash the badge, pump their chest out. But I never got that from him.
No, Jerry's just not wired that way. He's there to help, and
yep.
And at the same time, he's got a job to do in keeping everybody as safe as possible. And I wish him well.
Yeah, it's that was my experience with him, and I thought, okay, so he's a person first. All right, so let's cover some fire area. We are 22 minutes in this segment. It might take us all. I might not get Nutramigen on, but I do want to cover the fire deal. Charlie moved on.
Chief Thompson. Yep, Chief Thompson moved on. Yep.
And the new guy, how's he doing?
New guy is Chief Ted Massicati, and he is a fantastic individual in my experience. He's a firefighter. He understands firefighting, which obviously is important. He is really good with books and numbers and budgets, and especially in his first budget, he did a bang-up job. It's difficult, you got to remember, for these people a lot of the time, because we share our fire department with Anoka. It's the Anoka Champlin Fire Department. So everything is a little bit more difficult in that sense, because you have to prepare these budgets, and those budgets have to go back and get approved by two different city councils. So he got through that no problem. He's had some personnel changes / challenges / retirements and hiring and all that, and has just really handled it, in my opinion, very well. So he deserves a lot of thanks. I every time that we meet with him, I know that we got that one right.
Now, when Charlie left, there was a little bit of dust in the wind.
The answer that Charlie gave me as to why he left was that he started at Columbia Heights, and Columbia Heights called him back, and he's got about 5 years left until he retired, and so that's why he went back. I struggled with that myself a little bit, because I was under the impression that Charlie was going to serve out his career here. And so we didn't think that we had to worry about finding a new fire chief, and it would prepare us, or if we knew a date, a year in advance, or
right.
it would give us time to prepare for that, and find the right candidate, whether that be in-house or out. So when he left, I relatively abruptly, a 2-week period compared to the 5 years that we thought we had, kind of left a little bit of a vacuum there. So, so we ended up hiring an interim chief, a recently retired chief from Plymouth, Chief Klein. And Chief Klein came in out of retirement and I would say served us well and gave us kind of a needs analysis of like, what does your fire department need for a chief? And with his experience, who are we to argue? So went through several interview processes and Brian Wesp from Anoka had just recently been appointed to the fire board. So that may have been the first order of business that Brian actually voted on, now that I think of it.
And you are also on that board.
Yep, I've been on the board the whole time. So there's been some arrows thrown my way. Maybe they were warranted by kind of taking more of that hands-off approach, because we had the chief, that had many years of experience, and so maybe I was hands off with that department and just kind of let the chief do his job. When he left, that's when the problem started. So.
You sound like you got some animosity there.
Oh, I don't have any animosity. I don't. The chief, who am I to tell him where to work? And if that's a good.
No, I mean about the hands off thing. Do you feel you should have been more hands on with that?
I probably should have been a little bit more in tune. What was going on to make him leave, right? And that's where the mystery comes in. Was it that you wanted to leave our department, or that you really wanted to go back to Columbia Heights, or was it a combination of both? I don't know. Yeah. And so by being hands off, that would be where I would say I made the mistake. He should have felt, in my opinion, I did a bad job if he didn't feel that he could come to me with an issue.
Oh, well, that's, as you sit on these boards and these commissions, it's the thing. I mean, you're making decisions for a lot of things in life. Yep,
you are, and you're trusted and all that. So I would take as much of the black eye on that thing as anybody. If he left on, if he was leaving because he wanted to leave and not because he was looking to go back to Columbia Heights, I would feel bad about that. But I'm fine. I just talked to him on Thursday, Chief Thompson, because we sit on the Anoka County Fire Protection Council, which is kind of weird. I live in Hennepin County and sit on the Anoka County. I get that. But went to that council on Thursday, and from my sense, there's no bad blood between Charlie and I whatsoever. So
okay,
it is what it is. That's the way you leave that, right?
Well, let's go in overdrive here, because we're already 26 in the second segment.
Okay.
How is your public works guys? How are they doing?
I don't have interaction day to day with any of them. They, from what I understand and what I'm told, is they're about as hardworking as a crew as anybody could expect. We got a new pothole machine, I want to say last year or the year before.
Well, you better start using it.
They better start. In fact, when I was coming over to your house here, I thought,
how'd you like that?
I thought I'm going to email the director here. And a lot of the time they don't know until you tell them. So,
well, I tell them every year.
Yeah,
and I tell my representative every year at the gal.
120th is not our friend this year, so
it has been a friend for the last 15 years.
Yeah, I know it's on a schedule. I can't remember if it's a 23 or 24. It might be a 24 to get the whole thing redone. But yeah, the director of public works, he's great. Just a get her done type of guy, kind of a farm guy, Yeah. So they just get it done. I mean, they have a method to their madness when it comes to snow plowing and all that kind of stuff. And I know everybody wants their street done first. I get that. But they've got a way that they all get done in a cost effective manner. So I appreciate all the work that Chris does, and his team for that matter. They do a good job.
Yeah. Send the email.
I know that they have been out filling potholes. You can actually go online to the city's new website and have that and fill out a form too, where they can do that. But yeah, I'll just shoot an email when I'm walking out of here, Tim. I'll make sure I get it done.
All right, what didn't we discuss that we should know about? Any big plans we should be on page with?
Nothing off the top of my head. Of course, Father Hennepin Festival is back in its full glory this year with
I'll be darned.
with the parade and everything. So
I plan to have a blimp at it.
you're gonna have a blimp at the parade, huh? Okay, well, good for you. But it should be a great time. As long as I've lived here, I'm spoiled. I live a block south of River Road, so I've always been able just to walk up to the parade. But that has been one of our favorite things for the entire time that we've lived here. So, in fact, the years that I've been on a float, I'd jump off at the north side of my block and sit down and hang out with my family and my neighbors. So I'm very much looking forward to that. We've got the fabulous Armadillos are coming back this year for the Saturday night show.
Is that the one in the Shed Fest type of thing?
Nope, it's over at Chandler Park.
Oh, I see.
We've had them here last year. The fabulous Armadillos were here. They feature Chris Hockey, who played his solo the year before, his solo band. But Chris has since joined up with the fabulous Armadillos, so they're back for their second year in a row. Kind of a rock tribute band, but they were very, very good. So I'm looking forward to that and that whole thing.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else we can say, what should we do next?
Well, I can talk as long as you want me to, Tim. Come on. But,
Bill Marish, let's cover that quick.
Okay.
I understand he's not going to take the run.
I have not directly talked to Bill since the endorsing convention. The Senate District 36 Republicans, Bill's a Republican, and he was suiting up to run for that 30. I'm sorry, it's not 36 anymore. I totally screwed that. It's 34. My Lord.
He's over further.
It's Senate District 34. I'm really sorry about that. I said 36 earlier for John.
No worries.
But it's Senate District 34. I'll get that through my head yet. You watch. But from what I understand, Bill ran in the endorsing convention and ultimately did not win the endorsement of the Republicans. So a gentleman out of Rogers got the endorsement named Danny Nadeau.
Danny Nadeau, yes.
So Bill, I have not spoken to Bill since that time.
Well, I talked to him about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And someone asked me, let me rephrase that. Someone asked him if he was going to run for mayor.
Okay.
And he gave me that look, and I don't know what that look meant. I don't believe it was a look of, I'm going to do it, but it was still a look.
I can't confirm anything. I can't imagine Bill would do that myself, but I guess you never know. Stranger things have happened, right? So,
right.
I should talk to Bill. I actually represent Bill, and I would consider Bill Marish a friend of mine. He's a good guy and teacher at the school, driving instructor and everything. So everybody kind of knows Mr. Marish. So I should reach out to him.
I'd love to have him on the show and have him talk about Furbies.
Furbies?
Furries? Furry bees. Furries. That's what they call them.
Okay.
Yeah. The kids at the school, they wear a tail, put ears on. You got to treat them as such. They identify as a chipmunk or something.
Oh, that's okay. That's a new one for me, too.
No. We had a short discussion about it at the shop, and I went, dude, is this in Champlin, too? And he goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to get him on the show. Bill, if you're listening, we should talk about that.
Yeah. Bill, I'd be surprised if Bill wouldn't come on. I bet you he would. He would probably do that. Have you asked him, Tim? Have you asked him to come on?
I think we've had that discussion, but I think he's still deciding.
Okay. All right.
But I just got to get this furries. I keep calling them Furbies with a B, but it's furries. And it's a big thing over in Maple Grove. And you're thinking to yourself, how dumb has this country gotten where we got to identify as a chipmunk and you have to treat him as a chipmunk or whatever your furry thing is. And the school district don't come down on that and say, you're going to be a human or we're going to expel you and put you in an animal impound.
That I am speechless. I don't even know.
So you have no furries in your household.
I have a cat and a dog, but they're actual cats and dogs.
Well, you can't ask gender now. It's what it is.
Yeah, I have my opinions on that, but
so do we. And this is an opinion show.
Yeah, I don't think you get to decide that stuff myself, but
you didn't hear that, huh?
I didn't hear about the furries. No,
dude, look it up.
I will be sure to do that. Yes,
you're like our society has gotten that stupid.
That's part of me wonders if that's I gotta be careful what I say, but I wonder if that's some sort of satire where they're just trying to get the teachers to go along with it, or so. I don't know. It just doesn't.
It's certainly it's a control thing. So if the kids know they can control the school board, under the cloak of my freedom rights, because the furries have a tail. Oh, there's all kinds of stuff I heard. And I'll tell you what, this is one of those shows where if it goes on, it's going to be a really good show.
I think that.
You're speechless.
I have to do a little bit more research of that, but my gut
processing this.
My gut is that people don't actually think that they're animals. To your point, they're just trying to get a rise out of their teachers or the administration or whatever it is,
or they want to see how far they can get away with it.
That's exactly it.
And they're not saying no. That's what surprises me. I'm sorry, you're not a chipmunk. You're still a human, and this human is going to put his foot up your human ass if you don't stop acting like a chipmunk. I don't get it.
I wish us well.
Well, how would you like to be Bill and work with that?
I wouldn't like to work with that. I mean, and Bill's kind of a no nonsense guy too, right? So that's right. If that's happening, it's got to be driving him crazy.
Oh boy. So if Bill does hear this, we're with you, man. Come on here. Let's talk this out. Let's see, 20 or 35 minutes. Boy, where's this time gone? We're going to pull the pin. I want to thank you for coming on the show and giving up some of your Sunday. I know you were trying to get your homework done and all that stuff, and people want to hear this stuff. And believe it or not, they do listen.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'd come back anytime you want to talk about Champlin issues or anything that I don't know enough about furries to help you out with that, but
you'll bring your tail and ears, right?
Champlin issues I know pretty well, and anything like that, I'm more than happy to come on and talk to you, Tim.
Okay, for HuttCast, we appreciate it. We're going to hit the last segment. We're going to make it a short one about Nutramigen. So stand by, HuttCast will be back momentarily.
We hear a lot about air quality these days, so keeping your indoor equipment running clean and efficiently is important to your health. The experts at Dependable Heating and Cooling in Coon Rapids have been servicing the Twin City areas for more than 25 years. With the latest and most efficient technology available, they will repair or replace your equipment and keep your indoor air healthy and comfortable. Call 763-757-5040. Our team of experts is standing by, waiting to help you with all your indoor needs. Mention you've heard about this by listening to the HuttCast podcast, and you will receive a $50 off any repair. That's Dependable Heating and Cooling. 763-757-5040. Dependable Heating and Cooling.
Welcome back to HuttCast. As promised to you, my conversation about Nutramigen. Now, Nutramigen is a baby formula that is made by Enfamol. It is a product in which is given to our infants with sensitive stomachs, with all kinds of issues, and doctors prescribe it on a regular basis. Well, they guide you in that direction. Now, being a current, fairly new to the grandpa world here, I have been a part of this conversation with my wife, and we have tried to figure out a solution to a problem that we didn't even know existed until we were, in that position. And how long has this problem been? I don't know, but it must be a problem because there's all kinds of things going on in the world about formulas for babies. Maybe not just this brand, but this is specifically about a brand that we went and tried to find. Now, this brand, Nutramigen, was supposed to be readily available, which we also thought it was, pretty average. I mean, you're feeding your kids this, you're feeding your grandkids this. How hard is it to get this formula? Until we couldn't get it. So here we are. Now, the wife is pretty adamant on making sure we have plenty of inventory for kids and grandkids and all this stuff. And we went to go around and get some of this product. Well, my son who had the baby says, well, we were having a hard time getting this. And I didn't know how hard time it was until we started hunting it. It's not out there. The product is a very specific liquid diet type thing for, again, gassy kids, colicky kids. It's a thing. We had a colicky kid. We don't want another one. But here's the story. Here's how it goes. The company who sells this, we have Target, we have pretty much any major retailer in the cities, don't have any on their shelves. And if they do have it, they're rationing it. Now, I didn't know this was a thing until we needed some. And, this kid drinks like a hog, man. It's drinking all the time. I mean, it's feeding constantly, and you need the mix. So here we are, trying to find this Nutramigen. The wife finds one about 12, 15 miles from here. Limit 1 finds another one other side of town. Small bottle, limit 1. What's going on? Why are we chasing around the world for a product that should be right in your backyard? We don't know. So we did some digging. We did some investigating here at HuttCast, and we went out and we got this product, and we bought them from other places, and we brought them all home, and lo and behold, if we look on the bottom of the can where the expiration date was, most of them were expired. I can't say any simpler than that. But here's what I found odd. Now we have some lower income cities. We have some higher income cities. We have all kinds of stuff going on in this city of Murderapolis. And we have this hypoallergenic Nutramigen that we are finding expired in the lower income areas. Well, we went to Minnetonka. We went to Columbia Heights. We went to Minneapolis, North Minneapolis. We're all over the place. And always the stuff that is expired is always in these different income brackets. I guess you can guess by what I said which one was the non-expired one, limit 1. That was in Minnetonka. So I'm thinking to myself, this ain't making no sense. Why is this happening in these areas? I don't know what that is. I have no idea if it's a store thing. First of all, if they're rationing it, how much of this stuff out there can't you buy? Well, why are we hunting it? So we reached out. And I'll have to tell you, this company, Infamol, has been great. We say, look, we're running into this. We can't buy it on Amazon. We can't get it here. What's going on? Well, they allude us to the problem of there's a recall, so everybody else is jumping to their stuff. Well, the recall wasn't on them. It was on something else. But if you've got kids and grandkids and maybe kids coming in the future, you need to brush up on this, because expired cans of baby formula is not what I want to feed our kids and grandkids. Think about the implication there. How much of this stuff is being out there that we ain't paying attention to? You buy a can, you think it's new, you throw it in a bottle, you mix it up, boom, 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 you're done. Oh boy, what a roller coaster of debacle is this deal. And if you haven't checked, even if you don't have kids, if you can get a can of this or see it on a shelf somewhere, which I highly doubt, because now they're putting it in protected custody at the store. It's almost like getting toilet paper back in 2020. Plandemic was in full swing and everybody's freaking out, and you're just like, hold on here. So if you see this, and as promised, I said I would talk about this earlier, but Councilman Truesdell, we were kind of ran over, but we want to get this covered. But here's what's going on, and you got to pay attention to what's going on with this. I don't know. I don't get it. The gal from Nutramigen talked to the wife, did a great job, sent us out some product. It was like a 2-year or 3-year shelf life. So the stuff that was on the shelf is, 3 years old plus? I don't know the inventory supply chain thing, but we got to do better than that for our kids, our grandkids. I just can't believe that in today's world, and we're not a third world country. So why are we having this issue? Dig around, people. Pay attention to what's going on, because this is one of those ding-dings in life. You're going, dang, okay, why is this? Not that I'm playing conspiracy theorist, but however, I don't believe magic or coincidence. There's something going on other than I don't know what it is. So our experience was with Nutramigen, and we ran all over the city to find it. within at least a 60, 80-mile radius. What I feel sorry for, I actually feel sorry for the young kids, the kids that don't have grandparents to help them do this, the special needs kids, the special parents who are on WIC, all these individuals who, what are they going to do? Argue? They're going to take what they can get and they're going to feed their kids. But I can't believe that it's this much effort for someone to get something to feed their children. They're newborns. And I don't know what that is, but it seems like it's got to be brought to the surface. And if you haven't heard this, well, you're hearing it now on HuttCast. This cannot be this. We are a better country than this. We need to maintain a much better supply chain of this, a much better inventory in our stores. Certainly a current inventory would be one of those must-have things. I don't want to spend the crazy amount of money they get for this for what? For an expired can? No, I don't think so. I don't think that's where we're going with this. So if you have seen this, chime in on the website, the Hatebook page. Tell us you've seen this. It's new to me. When our kids were little, it was 30 years ago, and we're trying to figure out what the heck is going on. But here it is, history repeating itself, and we're hunting the cans, and we're this late in life. I'm kind of disgusted that this is how this is playing out. And I can't even begin to tell you how crazy this sounds. We cannot live in this crazy of a country. So focus, be on page, be vigilant about your products that you're feeding your kids, our nation's kids. And again, in defense of Nutramigen, they got the bull by the horns. Once they heard of this, they're making reports to stores. They did what they're supposed to do, and I would expect that from a well-known company like that. They're feeding our children. But what about the retailers? What responsibility do they have in this? Shouldn't they have some responsibility? Are you shoving bad product down on the line, or expired product? Does it make expired as a bad? I don't know. I mean, I've eaten expired stuff in life, but I don't want to be the guy responsible for feeding this to our kids. If I eat expired stuff, it's on me. But if I feed it to someone else, it's on me. I don't want to do that. Who would? What grandparent would? What parent would want to do that? Unless, of course, you're in a spot where this is what you get. But I don't believe we're in that spot. So I don't want to do too long of a rant and rave on this. People, pay attention again. There's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but it's to the surface. Explore this. Check your suppliers if you can get some. And man, it's just a crazy thing. But I want to wrap this show up because we're only about 11 minutes into this segment of it, and tell everybody out there to pay attention to the Nutramigens or their baby formulas or whatever they feed their newborns, and it might be a thing that we're not paying attention to. For HuttCast, it is Sunday. It's rainy around our parts, and I'd sure like summer or spring or one of the two seasons to get here soon enough because it's getting pretty old. But have a fantabulous rest of your Sunday. We have got some exciting shows coming up. Some really, really exciting shows that I'm just jazzed on doing. They're coming in the studio. I can't let out yet because we haven't set any dates. I'm going to have some more governor candidates. Really good ones. I've invited Governor Walz to the show, and lo and behold, there's been no response. But, Governor, if you happen to listen to the HuttCast, come on down because we're going to have a conversation. I would love to interview you, and I certainly won't throw too many hardballs at you, but there'll be some softballs going your way. Michelle Benson, I understood you pull out from the race. You were a front runner for me. I really appreciated the interview. She was on a couple shows ago. What a fantastic interview. She hit the ball right out of the park with this one, and I'm kind of sad to see that turn out that way, but she must have ulterior motives in mind, and I can't wait to see what those are. So, Michelle, if you're listening, thank you again for the wonderful interview you had. And that's it. We're wrapping up HuttCast. Everybody have a great one.
And that's a wrap for HuttCast. HuttCast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for HuttCast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.